Hello guys, so finally I get to the point where I can talk a little bit about the pool too. I know. I have so many cards right now. So I gather everything from the pool too, which is collection level 222 to 474. And it's about less than 40 hours to get every card from here. So obviously I gather everything here and I have already plenty from the pool 3. But in this video I just want to talk about pool 2 and just cards in general. So firstly, I'm just gonna click the cards, I think. I'm just gonna highlight the cards, I think. They sort of like core from pool 2 set. So we can actually, it's supposed to be 12 anyway. We can actually use them in any deck we wish to. Is it 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11? It's 12, yeah. So we can actually use any of those highlighted cards right now on any deck. The rest of the cards, you will see them as well, but they're most likely going to fit some decks, which, well, they just need to fit, right? So let's say Bucky Barnes is going to be a card only on destroyed decks because you will have the value of the Winter Soldier if it's destroyed. Ebonimo, well, it's good card, but it's even better if you can actually switch off the ability of this card, so it's going to be consistent 1 energy drop, and you will be able to play cards later on on that location. Jubilee for the control decks. Obviously, it's like super great choice, but it's going to be control deck. Killmonger, it's great card, but usually you are wanna play around this card because it's going to destroy all 1-cost cards. So you have to be aware of that. Leech, honestly, I never used this card yet, but I think there's some potential to use it, obviously, to shut down at the start of turn 6, remove all abilities from cards in your opponent's hand, and especially if you're playing the magic and you can actually play 7 turn as well. So obviously I will try to play this at some point, but I don't really see a value to play by himself, this card. But it's powerful, definitely it's powerful. Morbius, again, another card, one more time with certain decks, ongoing +2 power for each time you discard that card this game, so obviously for discard decks. And by no means, I'm not highlighting these cards. They're not highlighted because they're weak or something, they're actually quite powerful cards, but just trying to focus on the core, which we can play everywhere we wish to. I'm just gonna talk about the core in a minute. Then we have another for the discard cards is Sabertooth, which basically was actually destroyed. So excuse me, when it's destroyed, return to your hand with 0 cost. So that's great. And then the Sandman, Jubilee, and Lich, they're going to be on the control decks, which actually Sandman is like super powerful card. Just simply the energy cost, it's like too high to play it from the hand, but if you're able to pull off the Jubilee Sandman combo on the turn, let's say 3, due to the fact to play Zabu on the second turn. Obviously, I'm just mentioning right now the cards from the collection level 3. And I don't even have the Zabu, but right now, the Spotlight caches, you can get the Zabu. And I think I will get this week the Zabu, because Zabu is just simply powerful card. Maybe not overpowered, but simply it's just powerful, because if you are able consistently play Jubilee on turn 3 with certain decks, like you're gonna play the Infinite, Jubilee, Stuntman, Leech, probably Storm in this deck as well. So you are able to consistently to pull off either a huge amount of points, which they obviously can be countered by Shang-Chi, but if you're able also pull off the Sandman consistently on turn 3, you're just good to go, because the idea of those control decks is actually to play one powerful card each turn, and then you're actually shutting down majority of decks, let's say 80% of the decks, because the only decks who are trying to ramp or just playing like one card, huge card. They're just going to be play with against your deck, right? The rest of the decks. Any tempo and aggro, mid range, whatever you're gonna call it, those decks with majority of cards with free energy drops. They're just going to be weak because they can just play the one card at the end of the day. So the Sandman, nobody playing this, but in current meta with Loki, this is like so powerful card. It just basically shutting down, I don't know, 60-70% of the decks. You're just playing one card and then you're just going to carry on with some huge cards. Sheen out. So you're just gonna do the combo like with the She-Hulk, Infinite, Jubilee. I have some idea. I probably will do this deck at some point, but I'm just missing some cards. But anyway, you have the idea. And the Sandman, I'm actually blown away. Like nobody using the Sandman currently. It's because the current meta is the Loki meta, right? So I probably will do the deck and maybe present that and talk a little bit about this because like nobody using it. But it's really great, especially if you will use the Zabu and if you will use the Psylocke, which I actually have. And the Lockjaw might be great as well, because at the end of the day, if you are going to play the Lockjaw, and then afterwards you can play whatever card you don't really need. Like let's say you're gonna play the Psylocke, and the Psylocke are going to give you the energy and then give you the extra card from the Lockjaw, and then also you can play this other way around. You can play the Lockjaw, and then you can play the Jubilee, which Jubilee will take out one card from the deck, let's say the Sandman, and then the Jubilee is going to jump to your deck because of the Lockjaw, and then will bring you another card. Which I already tested this because my current deck, which I'm playing, it's sort of like a Marvel Jubilee control. So yeah, it's all about the burning cards from cheaper cost from the deck due to the Lockjaw and the Jubilee. But the only card which give me the opportunity to play faster the Jubilee is the Psylocke, which obviously is not good enough yet. So the rest of the cards, which I didn't mention yet. So we have the Vulture, another card, which is specifically good for the movement deck. And then the Dead card, which is Warpath, kind of like if any of your location are empty, +4 power. I mean, if we are able to pull off this on the turn 3 due to the Zabu, maybe it's not that dead after all, but without it, it's kind of, yeah, I don't really want to play this card. And the Collector, it's so good, so been nerfed recently, a couple of days ago, week ago, something like that. Because apparently it was too strong or whatever. Which in my case, like lots of people running Shang-Chi anyway, so it's like this, it's never going to be too high. It's like you're always able to shut down this card. So that's why I always trying to keep this like 8 and lower, but it's super easy even with the nerf to make this card 2 digits anyway. And then we have the Swarm, which is another specific card to the discarded or destroyed decks. So we have the Swarm, we have the Morbius, we have the Bucky Barnes, Sabretooth, and sort of sometimes Killmonger. You might use it to the destroyed decks. So yeah, those are specific to discard and destroy. Collector kind of to the Loki decks. And then we have the Jubilee, Sandman, Scorpion, no, excuse-moi, Leech to the control decks. And then the core right now, which you can actually play in any deck you wish to, because those cards have always the value. And Cloak, you will see only most likely on the move decks with the Vulture and other move cards, maybe Vision. But I recently played this like in the tempo decks, and like if you can play this on the turn 2 with 4 stats, this card is super great and super powerful. So honestly, I'd even wanna do some deck tempo deck with cloak and don't need to be a move deck because it just the stats itself are so good. So why not play it? It's just great. And just trying to buff this with some other card, maybe Blue Marvel or something like that. So I'm putting this card as a core because everybody can play this, and you don't really have to be worried about like players can move cards to this location because at the end of the day, usually you will end up with more stats. I mean, obviously, if you're going to play this on the turn 6, then you might not be lucky, not be good with efficient with this card. But like if you're going to play on the turn 2 or turn 3, that's totally fine. Agent 13, obviously, to have the extra card. Hobgoblin, because it's just great, -8 to the location, but just be aware if you're playing, obviously, the Odin Tiger, you don't really want to play this card. Unless somehow, some way, there's just one place on the location. So our Hobgoblin it's going to move on the opponent location, and then you are good to go. Then we have the Iceman, which is great tempo card, and also it's going to give in your opponent and 1 card plus 1 cost, which is great. Doesn't really matter what's going to hit. If it's going to hit, obviously, a low card is still good because they are not able to play in that round and they have to figure it out some other way of playing the cards, or maybe most likely they're not having to play anything at all. And then we have the Nakia and the Okoi, so basically those 2 cards are great to buffing your deck, and especially if you're playing the aggro tempo deck, like lots of cards you're going to play for low energy curve, let's say. So, or you have some idea to buff some cards, like I'm playing right now almost every day the Marvel deck. I'm just buffing the Marvel and just buffing some other cards, and then my Captain Marvel, it's usually higher than 4 points. So that's going to give you the edge against the players. But even if you don't really have any idea and you just started to play, you can play both cards because they like super in the curve, in the energy curve, turn 2, turn 3, as you can see, turn 1, turn 2, turn 3. So honestly, if you will put 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, it's 12. 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10. It's 12 cards, right? Or more. I'm just confused. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It's 12 cards. If you will put those 12 cards as a core, you can easily play this deck and you will have consistent winning ratio. Doesn't matter what deck you're going to play because there's lots of tricks here. We have the Shang-Chi to shut down. We have the Scorpion, which is going to be consistently do -1 to every cards on the opponent hand. We have the Hobgoblin, which is like super crazy card because at the end of the day, you don't really need to fight on the location, and then on the turn 5 you can play this on the location, and then on the turn 6 you can just play something else to just win that location, or maybe set up this spot like it's going to be like a finisher to the location, which we don't really have much of the cards. Sunspot, definitely great card. Playing on the turns, we can play this on the turn 1, and then at the end of each turn, gain +1 power for each unspent energy. So this is like super great card. So even if we don't have the cards right now to play, we still have the card which is going to be buffed. Just it's up to us how many stats, how many points we want to buff to the Sunspot, obviously, is due to the energy left. Vision, great card. Simply because we can move this on the turn 6, so it's going to be confused. The people are going to be confused, especially if you are actually going to play on the empty position, and then you're just going to swap the vision to the position you actually want to win. And then on that empty position, sometimes you might just end up to play like 1 energy drop and trying to figure it out rest of the energy to what you really want to do it with. Maybe Shang-Chi. If there is no any targets for the Shang-Chi, you might consider it to play Shang-Chi on the location you might think they might be some target. Or at the end of the day, you might just consider to not play anything at all because you have already Sunspot on the board, which is going to be buffed, but then you have to take to the consideration somebody might play Shang-Chi against you. And there's like probably 1,000 other variations just to the simple deck during the gameplay. But at the end of the day, I think this core is amazing. And actually, I'm just going to copy this and make a gameplay with this deck. Because it's good core cards, there are good core cards, and there's lots of room to improve. You can change around, and you're definitely going to have, just with this core, consistent winning ratio. There's no doubt about this, because you can destroy or flood 2 locations which you're not happy about, like, you know, there are some locations which are going to destroy your car, so obviously you don't wish to your car to be destroyed. Sometimes those locations you can take to your advantage, and let's say you have that location where your cars are going to be destroyed, so you can play Rhino or Storm on turn 6, because always the card ability is applied first before the ability of the location. So you might just win by 1 card the location, because the opponent might not think about this, what you're gonna to do, or either they don't have anything to play on that location, because some people think in the same way, like Scarlet Witch, let's say, they're just gonna play on turn 6 because they knew they can play the card or the armor. But in this scenario, we're using Rhino and Storm because there are poor 2 cards. So, and the rest of the cards obviously good to play if you have some idea around the deck, destroy, discard decks, or maybe at the end of the day the movement deck. So I think that's it for now. Thank you much, guys, for listening, for watching, and yeah, see you guys in the next videos, next decks. I will do a little bit of the Series 2 decks. I mean, I have no idea how many I will do, so maybe 7, maybe 10, maybe 3, whatever. And then I would just jump to play whatever random I'm playing. And right now it's actually Captain Marvel with some shenanigans. I have Doctor Doom, I have Crossbone, but apparently deck is actually working Lockjaw, Psylocke, some strange cards, and definitely not the cards I wish to end up with, but that's the beauty. If you don't have the full collection, you're trying out the cards and you're just testing the decks, and I'm actually happy with what I achieve right now, so I'm just playing this deck. But nevertheless, thank you much, guys, one more time for listening, watching, and see you guys in the next video. We try to play some Series 2 Pool 2 decks soon. Take care and bye for now.